and welcome to Classical Conversations, which is a series of interviews with various artists, to be featured on my YouTube channel. Today's artist is British concert pianist Nick van Bloss. Nick retired from the concert platform for 15 years, and he made his comeback in 2009 at Cadogan Hall in London, and this was hailed as a triumph by the critics. Since then, Nick has toured the UK and America with the English Chamber Orchestra and has recorded 2 CDs of Bach's music for Nimbus Records. Amongst his many exciting forthcoming projects is a Hollywood movie to be made about his life. I'm delighted that Nick is joining me here today at Steinway Hall in London. Well, thank you so much for joining me here at Steinway Hall today, Nick. And I'm going to start by asking you, why did you begin to play the piano, and what age were you?
Well, I was 12 when I started to play the piano. It was a very strange transition because I'd been the boy who didn't play the piano, and suddenly overnight I almost became someone who wanted the piano as a direction in their life. My parents found an old piano in the street, and it said "Good Home Wanted," so Good Home, there it was. We wheeled it along, and I took to it like proverbial duck to water, and just started playing, exploring the sounds and feeling around the keyboard. And I found it was sort of love at first sight.
Wow, that's quite a late age to start, isn't it?
It's a late age. I mean, I wasn't aware of that, of course, because I didn't think,
not.
oh, I should have been playing since the age of 3, but a load of people, I knew so many people later on who'd sort of been put at the piano as absolute toddlers.
Yes.
And you can imagine them sort of sitting there on very high stools, almost in the high chair playing. But for me, I think it was nice because I found the piano rather than was directing towards it.
Yes, that's always much better, I think, that way around anyway.
I think it can be. I mean, we hear of pushy parents and things.
Yes.
But with me, it was just a feeling of well-being, a complete unity with something, an object as it was then, because I couldn't really play. I was just touching and tinkling around on the keys.
Sure.
But I knew that the sounds were there, and something you've spoken about before. The sounds are all there, and I wanted to make use of them.
Yes, that's right. Now, you learnt very, very quickly. I know that because I've read in your autobiography. It took you something like 18 months just to get to grade 8, which is phenomenally quickly.
It was fast. I'd love to say I was a child prodigy, but I was too old because they could only be around sort of
Me too,
4 or 5 years old. But I learned quickly. I think in a sense I had an urgency about me. I had catching up to do.
Sure.
There was something driving me. This sense of urgency propelled me to practice, and I wasn't told to practice. I just wanted to be at the piano. I adored everything about it. This instrument just gave me a meaning in my whole life,
Right.
and I felt passionate towards it. So there was a lot to catch up on because people had been studying for years and doing their scales and all the technical things, but I sort of, like a little sponge, I felt I was absorbing it all, and very fast.
Yes. And so when was the light bulb moment then? When did you say, I must be a concert pianist?
Oh, the light bulb moment. I think that almost happened before I even got a piano.
Really?
It was strange because I never expected to get the piano, but I remember listening to some records, as they were then, LPs, of Beethoven concertos. And my parents always had these things in the house, and they were always playing, and Chopin.
Sure.
And I remember they were out one day, and I put one of these LPs on and sat sort of doing that, and all the things. I'm the concert pianist, and then it went out of my head.
Right.
We got the piano. I decided it was where I wanted to be, and very quickly, I think I knew I've got something I want to do here.
I wanted to say something.
Yeah, I don't even think at that age you know that it's possible to be a concert pianist. You always imagine a sort of elderly old man in tails, sort of sitting very high and playing. So that's the concert pianist in your mind.
Mm.
But was it possible for me to attain that? I didn't know that.
Mm. And when you came along to develop your technique, you've got a fantastic finger technique. So how did you develop that? Was it scales? Was it Czerny studies? Was it Chopin studies? Hammer? What did you work at? Or did you not? Could you just play?
I didn't ever do technical exercise.
Really?
I
Were you
barely
lucky?
played scales. Well, it is kind of lucky because when I eventually went to college and had to do scales and things, I thought, what on earth are these things? And everyone was saying, oh, we use scales for years. We did scales as literally parts of exams and things, and that was when I played a scale. But what I found was, instead of working away at technical things, technical books, Hannon and Czerny and Clementi, I was exploring the piano literature. So from this very early age, I found sight reading very easy. So I wanted to absorb everything. So I went through everything from playing through all the Schubert sonatas, all the Beethovens, probably very badly. I was young, I was developing as a pianist and developing a technique. But all these things helped me clarify what I knew I should have, and therefore what I knew I wanted, and what I got.
And you worked with the technique in the pieces then? In
I
that
think,
sense, I suppose.
because scales are in all the pieces. You play Mozart, it's made up of scales.
Of course, yes.
You play Beethoven, it's arpeggios and scales and so on. Big chords are in Rachmaninoff.
Yeah.
Line and melody are in Schubert. So it's all there.
Yes.
I wasn't one for sitting and thinking, well, now I've got to do B major for a whole day, and there I'll be stuck in it. So for me, it was a question of loving the exploration.
So when did you give your first recital?
First proper recital was at the age of 14 and a half. That was in the Purcell room. And
That's
it was
quite a place, isn't it?
It was quite a place, because there I was sitting, I'd only been playing for a few years, and I played all the Schubert impromptus opus 90. As a little boy, just sitting there thinking, here's a concert grand, and I've got to do this. It was a shared recital, so it wasn't only me, but it was a big thing. It was a London debut, if you like, and I really got off on it. There was something about it. I was making sounds and realizing that you could communicate sounds and propel them to an audience, and it sparked something in me. Then, about 18 months later, I did a Queen Elizabeth Hall concert, and that was easier for me, and felt, again, like the duck to water. I loved doing it. I wanted to get out there. It wasn't showing off, although there is an element of it at that age.
Definitely.
But you want to show, you want to present yourself, but also this kind of inner strength that it gave me. I didn't come away feeling demoralised, quite the opposite. I felt I want more of this.
Yes, I can imagine that. So, as you developed, did you have phases of composers you enjoyed to play, or what did you start, and how did that change as you became older?
That's the interesting one, because I think especially when you're learning, you go through these passionate love affairs almost with pieces, and unfortunately, as we get older, I think we lose that. It's kind of a naive spark we have. We discover Schumann for the first time, and we want to devour everything. We discover Chopin. We want to play and relish in the beautiful harmonies. For me, there were so many. I remember going through a phase of everything from Stravinsky to Rachmaninoff, then back to Bach. I always came back to Bach. That's another matter.
Yes.
But Bach was always sort of there in the background. But for me, it was love affairs with whatever I played. So they were always my favourite pieces. If it was a Prokofiev sonata, then Prokofiev was my favourite composer.
So we met at the Royal College of Music Junior Department, and you said so many times how much you enjoy attending the Music College Conservatoire on a Saturday. How did you benefit from that?
We were so naive and young there. It's wonderful.
We were. I was about 15. You were about 16.
It's this naivety that we love. We were so wide-eyed.
Yes.
And that music environment on a Saturday, I mean, I looked forward to it, as you did.
I did.
All week. It was the highlight. It was a highlight of my existence, actually. It was mixing with other people who were loving the same thing. All naive, which is wonderful. It's a pure time that we have to go through, because I think we can get jaded or wiser as we get older. But at that age, it was so pure.
Yes.
And we were just doing it and loving it. There were no barriers, there were no obstacles. We were playing difficult pieces, chamber music, immersed in music, immersed in the sounds. And I think the benefit was absolutely incredible.
Yes, absolutely. Now, when you left the Royal College, you did quite a few international competitions, did very well in them. So do you think competitions are still the way forward? Can they make or break a pianist's career, or are they obsolete now, actually?
I think they're completely obsolete and always have been. In terms of making or breaking, I think they can only do one thing, and that's break.
Really?
There are examples of pianists like Marta Argerich, who won the Busoni competition, an absolutely worthy winner who became and was then and is a great pianist. Now, competitions don't breed that generally. What happens is you play safe for competitions. I discovered very quickly on the circuit that while I was playing my way, people were playing the way.
Yeah.
And there was a big difference. And once I discovered that the way, and that is the safe way, you tick all the boxes, you do all the right things, you don't ruffle feathers, you just play safely for the first few rounds, you get through. And I didn't learn that till quite late on. I wish someone had told me actually play very safe. It's almost boring, like a good amateur, gifted amateur, and you'll get through. if you give something with spark in it, they tend to reject you instantly.
Yes.
So I think they're very damaging. Also, competition, you can't compete. It's not an Olympic sport.
No.
There's no clear winner. So it's how the judges feel on the day. Who likes you? There's often politics with judges. In the olden days, and I talk about 40, 50 years ago, when competitions were still around, we had great pianists on juries. Now you don't know the names of these people.
No.
So is it dangerous to people to do these? Yeah, I think it is. The careers that are made vanish just as quickly.
Yes, it seems that way. Now I want to talk about your retirement, because you retired for a long time. So what made you retire, and what were you doing during that time?
Retirement came about through, well, many reasons. One was musically. It was something, I think because I started late, I missed out on a lot of perhaps stuff that would have developed a bit later.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily speaking musically, I think it's emotional. It's the emotional aspect of playing the piano. I wasn't geared towards doing it. I think I was too much of a free spirit. And I also had health problems. The combination of all made me say, you know, it's time to give this a break and just step out of it. Leave the piano entirely, and I got rid of the piano.
And so when you came back, did you find that it had changed you musically? Did you find that the music became clearer and you'd improved as a musician?
You know, that's the wonderful thing. All those things that I struggled at, and we all struggled. We were desperately trying to play Liszt's Sonata and Rachmaninoff concertos and anything that would show us as big, beefy pianists. I was away from that. There was no piano. But funny enough, in my head, all the time I was in retirement, I was learning.
Yeah.
And I immersed myself in, it sounds very spoilt, but I spent my life going around to the top opera houses, listening to the most magnificent productions, hearing the best singers. That gave me an education that I'd never had before. It gave me a wisdom, and I think it taught me a lot about how to sing at this instrument and how to really become a musician.
That's interesting, I can imagine that. So when did you decide, I can't live without the piano, I've got to get back to the concert platform? Because we all know it's such a difficult profession, so, and you've come back quite spectacularly, so what made you feel that way?
Do you know what happened? I feel, in many ways, I was given a gentle shove towards it. There were too many people saying to me, it's time you did a concert, it's time you made some recordings, it's time you came out of this hibernation, this retirement. And I was sort of saying, no, well, actually I'm very comfortable and very safe, and I've got music here all in my head, and I haven't even got a piano. I haven't touched a piano for 15 years. And they're all saying, yeah, but it's time. So with gentle nudging, I decided to put my toe in the water, and then actually I fell right in the pool.
You discovered you couldn't live without it
It was
anymore.
fabulous.
Sir Nicholas Kenyon, in his recent BBC Radio 3 programme, singled out or selected your recording of Bach's Goldberg variations as one of the definitive four, the others being Schiff and Gould and Pari. Now that's quite an accolade, Nick. So I want to ask you, how does Bach affect you emotionally?
Well, I can certainly say that Nick Kenyon's comments affected me emotionally.
I bet they did.
I was incredibly thrilled to be put there with these greats.
Fantastic.
But what Bach does to me, I said before, I always come back to Bach. It almost sounds like a cliche. I should be saying back to basics, but Bach is not basics.
No.
I mean, Bach is a composer who is, I think, the ultimate genius of all. Many people say he's the father of music, father of classical music, the grand old man of everything.
Yes.
It's more than that. He's the standard, the staple. And for that reason, he falls into two categories. One, people either love him and they want to play him,
Yes.
or they shy away, because there's something quite difficult about him in the sense that, well, we're playing modern piano. Bach often falls into these two camps of being a composer you absolutely warm to, or one that you shy away from. He didn't write for the modern piano, he wrote for the harpsichord. That's fine, but I mean, I love the piano. I'm a piano man. I prefer and love the things that the piano offers. I think Bach would be thrilled at hearing these wonderful sonorities
Absolutely.
and sounds. So I like to utilize them. I see Bach as a very romantic composer, someone full of emotion.
Yeah.
So to me, it's natural that Bach should be there and part of me, because he's this person who I think wrote monuments to classical music, monuments to art.
Yes.
His works stand as the greatest achievement things, I think, in Western civilization.
Definitely.
And we can't ignore this composer. So we have to not only approach him with a great deal of care, but put our whole souls into him.
Yes.
A lot of people, I think, when shying away or having to play Bach, they very routinely go through the motions and think if I play the notes, it'll be fine. You put more into Bach, I think, than any other
Absolutely,
composer.
yes, and almost you need a lifetime before you play it.
Sometimes
Certainly
it
to
feels that way, but the great thing about Bach, because you need the lifetime, at any point in your life, you've got that lifetime because he's there all
Yes.
the way through.
Yes. Now I have to ask you this Hollywood film. Tell us about the film.
Well-
And more importantly, who is going to star as you?
Well, I hope someone suitably handsome stars as me, but I wouldn't quite say it's Hollywood at this stage, but certainly feature film, heavily in development. And it's based on, well, they say a quirky life, which seems to be what people think I've had. Also this great long period of retirement.
That's right, yes.
Where a lot of things happened, a lot happened before then, but since then there's been this re-emergence as a pianist, and things have started going well. I think people are realising the love affair I do have with the piano, and that actually I can give something. So the filmmakers were very intrigued by this kind of juxtaposition of someone who retires, who rejects the piano, and then comes back to it. It's like finding the old love.
No, it should be very interesting. Do you know when it's going to be coming out, or is it not?
All I can say is watch this space.
Watch the space. Nick, thank you very much. It's been wonderful interviewing you
It's
today.
been lovely, thank you.